Welcome to Iris Channel USA. On previous videos we've shown you how to clean your cast iron. Now I'm going to show you what happens if you started to clean and you had to stop and you got it cleaned up, stripped, and ready to season, but you didn't go to season it and it got a little rusty. This pan we have cooked on, we have re-seasoned, but look at how rusty it is. Okay, now what you do here, we're going to cut a little bit of water on it. We're going to clean it up a little bit. I'm just using a very light Brillo to take off the surface rust. I'm not using it hard enough to get into the finish on the pan at all. All we're doing is breaking up anything that might be getting on your hands or scaly and taking it off. See, it's not very much. This pan's not in bad shape because I've already cleaned it up once. Then we had a storm and lost power and I didn't get back to it. Left it where it could get damp.
How old is that?
This pan is from the 70s. The late 60s, early 70s. It's a Birmingham.
How you can tell it's 70s?
This one actually has a little bit of a story to it. Birmingham Stove and Range was having some money problems and they're trying to figure out how to stay in the market. So Wagner and Griswold both had square pans, and Birmingham had square pans, but nobody had a square pan that was this large. So they decided to make the largest square pan for a breakfast skillet that was in the market, and that's what they did with this one. And they were viable until the early 90s, but these pans were made after they started stamping USA on them, made in USA here, which means they were post 64. And these, I think, most of these were made around 74, early 70s. But they're really nice pans. You can fix a lot of breakfast in here if you got a big crowd. What we're doing now is drying it off. And then what we're going to do is wipe it down after it's dry. And we're rushing this one just a little bit, but we're going to wipe it down with vinegar. Which I have some white vinegar sitting just off camera that I'm going to dip this in and wipe it down, show you how quickly.
You're using vinegar?
Vinegar is a weak acid and will take the rust off of the pan. You can use different, I'm using straight vinegar right now just for show and tell. If I was going to leave this in here, I would use 20% or something like that. All you're doing is eating the rust off of it. They say if you leave your pan in there long enough, like years, the vinegar will ruin the pan because of the acidic properties. But never left one there quite that long. Usually 2 to 3 days is plenty, sometimes 20 or 30 minutes. This stuff, if I leave it in here, will react and this vinegar will start bubbling and it will take this stuff off in just a couple of hours. And then you get back in and take it all off again.
Okay.
It looks at this point rustier than it is. You could actually wipe this all the way down and season it from now, and it would take a pretty good seasoning. These pans aren't quite as nicely finished as the old Birminghams or the Griswolds, but they do cook very well. It's fairly smooth, but you can feel the rough. That's not from age. That's merely from them not going that extra distance to finish out. And you can see it's breaking off some of the paper off my towel. Anyway, you can see it takes off. I don't know how well you can see it on the camera, but it does take off quite a bit of the rust pretty quickly. We've just wiped it down And we're going to do this on the front and the back, and then it will be ready to season, and it will do fine. Just you want to keep it. I always like to put the oil on it when the pan is perfectly dry, and so we'll leave it out here after I wipe the vinegar off to loosen up whatever loose scale might be on here. I never leave vinegar in the pan for more than 3 days when I'm doing them. And when I do that, it's only a 20% solution. Water and vinegar mix. And that will take off most of your big rust. I use lye, the aerosol lye, the oven cleaner, most of the time for most of my big stuff. And you can see it's blackening up right now. I can now read the breakfast griddle inches right here, made in USA right here. So it does a pretty good job. So we're gonna leave it up here and let it dry, and then we'll season it just like we did the other pans in the previous videos. We are back with a continuation of our pan restoration video. What we have here is one that you saw us strip and clean in the previous video, and what we've done on this one, it was so bare, as soon as we take it out, it would get flash rust on it immediately. So we've wiped it down with oil. I put it in the oven to dry it a little bit, about 200 degrees, and now we've wiped it down with oil one time and wiped all the oil off, so all you can see is the sheen is the idea. It's still a little heavy, but now we're going to put it in the oven, and we're going to turn it up to 500 degrees. Actually, I'm going to do 475, and let it start to go ahead and process. And it will get up that high, and you'll see it start to smoke, and that's when the oil's coming off, and that's what you're looking for. You want to do that and let it sit there for an hour, and then cool it down, wipe it down with oil one more time, do it again, do that 3 times, and you got your base coat on there. And then the rest of it you can do from cooking. But while we're doing that, we have an old Lodge trivet, and you can use these either to flip like this and set a hot pan on, or you can put them in the bottom of a Dutch oven or something to keep the meat from sticking to the bottom, which is what this one's for. Now we have wiped it down, and it's in pretty good shape. We've already done this. It's already been through once, and we're just going to do it again. But it was sitting there to get a little bit of service rust on it, so we cleaned that off. Now we've done it again. So put that one in. And off camera, we have stripped a Griswold. That's a Griswold number 8. It's in pretty good shape. It was bare gray metal 5 minutes ago, and you can see it's already rusting again. So what we're going to do is go ahead and oil this one. I always do the handles first because let them have the most time to drip off. And I'm not an expert. So this works, and it does a pretty good job. I have to re-strip one every once in a while. I put one coat on there until I can't see any of the earlier metal, and then I try to wipe it out, and get as much out as I can. You'll never get all of it out without heating it up and scrubbing it out. But what you want is just enough to make just the thinnest layer on there. And try to get the edges too, because that's where you're wiping it off. And your drip spout there. So that's the inside. And we'll do the outside the same way. And then I'll take a paper towel and wipe as much of it off, or a rag if I have one. Wipe as much off as I can. Put it on heavy with these that have the deeper cuts to make sure you get some in all of the wording, because you don't want that to not look right. And you can do this with a rag or pretty much whatever. I use the brush because this brush is about wore out, so it's about all it's good for at this point. Nice thing about the way this method of cleaning and scrubbing and doing everything is if you mess it up, you haven't done anything that's going to damage the pan. You'll hear people talking about using fire, and if you're good at controlling your fire temperature, fire's fine. The problem is most people can't, and it doesn't take much to ruin it. These old pans are not the same thickness on the top as they're on the bottom, and if there's any bit of failure in the pan, defect or anything like that, when it heats up at different temperatures at different times and tries to stretch and change shape, it could crack. Seen it happen. Thankfully none of mine have ever done it, but I have done my cauldrons in open fire, but so it helps if you know exactly what to watch your flame color, watch your temperature rating, that sort of thing, and it does okay. It's not the best way. We've just taken this out and cooled it. We're separating them out so you can see this is one level of oil, one seasoning. We'll do this 2 more times and it'll be ready, and the rest of these blotches will come out, but it's very smooth. You can actually cook with it now if you wanted to, but if you cook now, it would kind of be mismatched a little bit, take longer for it to really even out the color. So we'll do it 2 more times the same way, and it'll be done. That's all you got to do.
It looks new now.
This one is that rough Griswold we had, and it's got a little pitting in it and everything, so it's going to take a little bit to season. But this is again one passing. This is just moisture from sitting on the burner there. It's not the oil that cooked in. So, well, we'll do this one 2 more times as well. Right now you can kind of feel the rough metal. You do 3 of them and it starts to feel smooth. And we'll do it again. But that's how you do it.